Hey everybody, I wanted to give you a video on organizing or going digital with all your photos and documents. So a little bit of rundown. We had a whole bunch of containers with the files and photos, and our concern was that going to Okinawa that we wouldn't have space to put it because the homes are smaller, and we were also concerned of getting damaged or lost in the travels there. So that's what kind of got us started thinking about what we should do. So also our two oldest kids are adults, and they each want their own copies of photos and documents and such. So I am terrible at scrapbooking. I love to craft, but in all my times I've tried to scrapbook, I think I've made a total of 7 scrapbook pages, not books, pages. It's just not my thing. So I have been carrying around, this is shameful, for 21 years, a container this size full of loose photos. I'm ashamed to say, because I find myself very organized, but when it comes to photos, printed copies of photos, I am like the worst person at organizing them. So I dreaded doing anything with them. I thought years ago to digitize them, but I was like, oh, it's going to be such a pain in the butt to do it. So I finally said, okay, I got to get this done. So I bought, it's like 250 bucks. I bought this little small portable scanner. I'm telling you, it's the best $250 I've ever spent in my life. This thing, we've got our money's worth out of it. It is a gem. It is so much better than the all-in-one printers, copiers, because you can do small photos, you can do business cards with it, ID cards. People, Epson is the one I have, the ES 300. Get it. I'm serious. You know, it's life-changing. It's one of the best organizational tools I can give you, and not just for photos. It's about files too. I'm going to share with you our information on that. Life-changing. I scanned over 24,000 photos. 24,000 photos. That's a lot of photos. Could you imagine if I was trying to scrapbook that? Oh, no. No way. And then for each of my kids. So what I did is I scanned them, and I tried to organize them the best that I could. And so I made folders within the files, folders within the folders of names, you know, like Kayla's Sweet 16, Erica's graduation, you know, things like that. To try to make it, when they go to find them, a little easier to find what they're specifically looking for. And then I put all of it on a USB drive for each of the kids and sent them to them. Now, scanning the photos and organizing them actually wasn't as hard as I thought. When I get on a task, I just do it. I sit down. Everything else, we don't eat, we don't drink, you don't go bathroom, nothing. I get it done. And it took a good solid day to do that. But the hardest part really was not scanning the photos or organizing them. It was making darn copies and transferring them to the USB drives. I'm telling you, it took a couple days to do that. I was kind of shocked at how long it took, but it got it done. So if anything happens to the photos, everybody has copies digitized. And then I gave them, like Kayla, I sent all the hard copy photos of her. I mailed those to her in Vegas. Okay. Oh, and then I have a copy, and this goes for everything that I'm going to tell you here. I have a copy of all that on my hard drive computer, or my laptop. And my laptop is backed up on a hard drive as well. But I also have other hard drives specifically for photos and specifically for files. So this one is for files. I put a little label there, files. But I have one just like this for photos. So I went from this to this. I mean, you can't go wrong. You got to do it, people. I'm telling you, life-changing. Okay, now, files. I am very organized when it comes to files. When I was in the military, I loved working on file plans, if you're military, especially human resources, you know what I mean. I just love file plans. I don't know. I love the labeling. I love the organizing. It's just my thing. So I always have like active files, which are things that I'm currently using. I have inactive files, which are things that I wanted to keep, didn't really need. And then there's this thing right here. This. We had each, John had one, and I had one, full of military medical documents. So for military medical documents, when you get out of the military, you always want a copy of your medical records because you're going to file for veteran disability. I mean, everybody should do it. It's just one of the entitlements that you have, so apply for it. So you can get copies of your medical records, but you never know what could happen to them. So we have always kept copies of them. Thank goodness for John's, they were actually, we had a long time ago had separated them into categories like right ankle, left shoulder, things like that, and their individual files. Thank goodness, because those were really easy to download. So I downloaded them by categories, and then I made a folder for each area. I made a folder for left shoulder, right shoulder, all of those. So that was phenomenal. That we did that many years ago. That made life really easy. So I downloaded everything. All of that scans, double-sided, are back and front. So that's great for medical records. So we went through those, scanned those, and then John is shredding all the documents. It's a lot of documents. I'm telling you, each of these containers had to be easily 25 pounds. It was heavy. In John's records, he had multiple copies of his documents. So it was a lot that we were getting rid of. Not just weight-wise, but space-wise. We've just been carrying these things everywhere with us since we've been out. And I've been out since '05. Oh gosh, I've been out for a long time. So, and John's been out since '07. So we've been carrying these around for a long time. Then I want to show you this. I had three of these, right? You see the hanging folders in them? 3 of these full of documents. So in these files were things, taxes. I'm really good at purging things, but I guess I had almost a whole one of these full of tax forms, 14 years that I just had in storage. I just forgot about. And then I had a separate file, what I consider my active file. I had the last 3 years in there. So you don't need to keep taxes for that long. So what I did is I looked it up, and it suggested the last, routinely for the average person, 3 years. So I took all the documents, all the receipts, and I scanned those all in. And then keep in mind, when you're scanning these things in, you don't want to just scan them all together. You'll never find what you're looking for. So create a folder for each file, just like you would a hanging folder. Create a folder for that, electronic folder. So I would put like taxes 2016, and I kept all the documents under that. And then get rid of all the old stuff and then shred them. Mortgage documents. Oh my gosh, mortgage documents. I don't even have them all. I still have some in storage. They're like the legal size, all the ones, the big thick papers. Every time you close on a house, you buy or sell a house, you don't need all those. But what I did is I took just the ones and I scanned those in, and then I created a folder for each home that we lived in, and I put a copy of those in each folder. We had receipts for paid off bills that we had paid off. I'm talking 14 years ago. We had manuals for appliances. I never looked at those. I just go online and look at the electronic manual. Sales receipts. Sales receipts for any large items that we had, we kept. But most of these we didn't even own anymore. Gosh, all kinds of personal data. Oh, college documents. transcripts. I scanned in a copy for us just for our information in case we ever wanted to go back to school again. But if you apply for college, you got to order a new transcript anyway and have it sent right to the college. So we just kept the copies scanned in for us and got rid of the rest. There's some personal things for all my kids. For the adult kids, I just gave them those so they can have them. So those files, those kind of inactive files, active files, we scanned everything in. And we put them all, everything's on this hard drive, like I said, a copy on my laptop and a copy on my backup and here. So 3 different places it's saved. So I'm not too worried about those. Now, very important documents. I'm talking birth certificates, marriages, wills, all those things. I scanned them all. Obviously, I'm keeping the originals. And when we go to Okinawa, I'll keep the originals with us. But what I did, and I highly recommend this for everybody, military, non-military, live by your family, not live by your family, please consider doing this. I scanned all of our documents, especially our wills, and I put all of them on, a copy of them on a couple USB drives. And I mailed the USB drives to my in-laws and to my mother. And I asked them to put them in their safe. So if, God forbid, something happens to John and I when we're overseas, and our originals you can't get to our originals, or they're lost somehow, at least our family will have a copy of our wills and our wishes of what we want done after we're deceased. As well as if for some reason our birth certificates get lost, there's copies, social security cards or copies, divorce, we've been divorced, so divorce, copies, anything that you would consider very important, we put on there. Even our kids' copies, even though they have the originals, I wanted a copy of it, especially because Erica was born abroad, and that's a little more challenging to get a hold of. So they have copies of those. We keep them in a safe, the hard copies right now, but something can happen. So I highly, highly encourage you to do that. But we are, it didn't take as long as I thought it would. Scanning part was quick and easy. Had to organize it, so you get to make multiple folders for each categories. So it took some time, but I'm telling you, I feel so accomplished and so happy that I did this. Just the peace of mind that I know that we have copies of this stuff on multiple different locations. Our family has copies of important documents, that we don't have to find a place to physically put these things when we move. It is such a burden off of my back. I will tell you, it probably took no more than a week to get all this done. Please consider doing this. The world is all digitized, it's all electronic. You don't have to put yourself out there on the cloud. Keep it on the hard drives, and then put your hard drives in a safe. You don't have to have originals for hardly anything, except for the important documents, birth certificates, stuff like that. Everything else, the world's digitized. So hop on board and save yourself a lot of heartache and worry. So anyway, that's my not so quick tip today on organizing. I hope you will really consider what I'm saying. Get yourself $250 scanner. I'm telling you, life-changing, worth its money. You won't regret it. Do it. Hard drives, get them on sale. Back up your computers, back up all your files, and you won't regret it. So that's my tip of the day. See ya.